In this tutorial we're going to look at Secant family optimization. Secant has a large number of controls available to tailor your solution to exactly what you may require, be that a high yield solution, a fast cutting time or preferential use of offcuts. But what if you aren't sure exactly which solution you'd prefer? That's where Secant's family optimization becomes useful. With a family optimization you can run the same cutting list and stock file against a library of different control setups, then reviewing the results for yield, time, offcut usage, etc. before deciding on your final solution. We set up a family optimization by deciding which combinations of machine and policy controls we'd like the job to be optimized against from the library set up on the system. For more details on how to configure your machine and policies, please refer to the online help. You can see we have policies configured for yield, speed, offcut usage and a balanced policy set which considers both yield and cutting speed in this situation. Each of these control setups gives a variety of different controls, allowing us to tailor the results for that particular requirement. The next thing we have to do is select or create a family optimization variant file, telling the system which combinations of machine and policy we wish to run against. Here we look at an existing family optimization file, where each line refers to a separate Secant job which will be created and optimized against these controls. You can see here that these different values relate to the policies we had defined on the system previously. Once the family variant is set up, these are always stored on the system, so you can just select an existing variant rather than creating a new one each time. We begin creating the Secant job. We do this in the same way as we did in running your first job, by first giving the system a name. This time, however, we select a family variant file rather than a single setting for machine and policies, and as before, selecting our default stock file. We can now review the Secant job. We can see that the stock file has been copied in from the system stock file, so we now simply need to add our cutting requirement. This can either be typed in manually or alternatively imported from an Excel database or third-party system. We now have all the input data Secant requires, and we'll ask it to generate the pattern set. At this point, Secant will optimize the cutting list and stock file against each different control configuration in turn. The speed of optimization depends on the complexity of the job. For example, the number of different cutting parts, number of stock sheets available, along with the controls defined, including the speed and search depth of the algorithm. During optimization, we can see each variant appearing and the current progress of that job displayed on the screen. Once the optimization is complete, we are presented with a summary screen showing us the results for each different configuration. Each line configures a different control setup, with each particular variant a fully contained Secant job that can be opened and reviewed in the usual way. We can also see on this summary screen information such as yield and cutting time. So for example, we can see that our yield bias job gave us a production of 93.72%, but did take 7 hours and 23 minutes to cut, this long cutting time being due to the complicated patterns required to achieve this yield. Below this, our speed solution sacrifices a few percentage in yield in order to give us a much faster production time. We can also look into the results in more detail to see which stock is used, to see for example in that the balanced solution we are using full stock sheet, whilst in the offcut usage solution we are making full use of all the available offcuts in the system, albeit at the expense of yield and cutting time. Once we have decided which variant we wish to use for production, we could modify the job individually if we wanted to and run again, but once we are happy with the solution, we simply select the solution we are going to produce, and then we can print our reports all downloads were saw in the usual way.